Hello and welcome. You're watching the NDTV Sports Live. We are just a couple of hours from the big match itself, India versus Pakistan. Everyone's very excited. Everyone's anticipating a good
We've been
match.
excited since yesterday. We hope that the match gets underway.
It does. And there is also a possibility of rain during the match. And that is something that is bothering a lot of fans. But irrespective, we are hoping to get a great match. India versus Pakistan is always one of the biggest encounters in the world of cricket. And today, what we'll do is we've already talked about the pitch. We've already talked about the conditions.
I'm just checking the weather for you.
We've already talked about a lot of things. So what we'll do today is we're going to focus on the X factor from both the teams, India and Pakistan. Joining us at this moment is the king of IPL, Mr. Abhishek Nair, the sporter of a great beard, Mr. Abhishek Nair. Somebody who's beaming right now, Mr. Abhishek Nair.
There is every reason for it.
And there is every reason for it.
India, we don't know whether India will go on to win the World Cup, but Abhishek has won the most coveted trophy of the season, which is IPL. Abhishek, I'll start with we'll talk about the key personnel in the two teams. Number one, when we talk about, you've mentioned about Virat Kohli in our earlier show, being a player to watch out for simply because of the performances he has turned up with against Pakistan. Could you tell us a little bit about the importance of being Virat in a game like India versus Pakistan?
Well, I think, firstly, thank you for that lovely introduction. And so I think someone like Virat Kohli in any game, not only India-Pakistan, is really important. Why does Virat Kohli become even more important in India-Pakistan game is because, one, he's got great numbers, against this team.
Yeah.
Secondly, this bowling lineup, barring Shaheen Shah Afridi, none of them have ever got him out. So he's never gotten out to a Nasir Shah, a Haris Rauf, a Shadab Khan, or a Mohammad Amir in the last 2 years. Plus, he's only got out once to Shaheen Shah Afridi, but strikes at more than 160. So there's something that he does really well against this team, against this attack, which is why he's a key cog in your team, because when you've got good numbers, there's always this psychological advantage before you enter this field. When a bowler's bowled to you and feels like, I've never got him out, you have a psychological advantage. So barring the greatness of a Virat Kohli, barring the fact that, he's got great numbers against most teams, this team in particular brings the best out of him. He gets into what we call the beast mode. That's what you want. That's what you want with Virat Kohli on the big stage in tough conditions, wherein we are hoping, or we've been anticipating tough conditions with the ball seaming, swinging, overcast conditions, a bit of rain around. You want your big guns to step up, and Virat Kohli, with all of that hype, is someone you want, for that guy to step up today.
Abhishek talked about stats, and Virat Kohli in the last 5 matches only gotten out one time.
Which is below 50.
And scored 4 50s at an average of 308. So you know what he brings to the table, especially in an India-Pakistan game.
And this is an occasion. Virat Kohli is a man for big matches. 34,000 people inside that Nassau County Stadium. I think that will also pump him up to deliver.
And because he has done it before, and he has done it at Melbourne, and nobody can forget that shot of
but this is
shot of the tournament, probably shot of the World Cup.
Again, I would like you to come in here. We talk about Melbourne, we talk about Ahmedabad and India, Pakistan. It would be not anything like Melbourne or Ahmedabad, right?
Yeah. Firstly, let me just say Virat Kohli is the man. It doesn't matter what the occasion, which team he has. He's done it all. He's been there. But I always believe, the key for any cricketer, the bigger the stage, the more experienced players tend to turn up. Because they've had the experience of going through those emotions, understanding how to approach it. Everyone who sits in that bus today while they're going to the stadium, there are going to be multiple thoughts going through your mind as a cricketer. What's going to happen? What's the pitch going to do? How am I going to play Shaheen Shah Afridi? What is their strategy going to be against me? But someone with all that experience who's done it over and over again, you expect a lot more calmness than someone like a Shivam Dube who's going to be playing his first India-Pakistan big game. So, those kind of small things is what you expect from a big players, and Virat Kohli is your biggest player. So you expect him to be up there. You expect him to be ready, whether that be New York, whether that be Melbourne, whether that be India or Pakistan, it doesn't matter. The big game, you want Virat Kohli to step up.
Abhishek, before we move on to the next person, I'll just ask you a little bit about something you mentioned. Very interesting that Virat is a man for every occasion. And for that, you need that temperament. Is Virat Kohli going to be speaking to the juniors in the team and telling them that this is the kind of mind chatter you have to shut down? This is what you need to think. This is the zone you need to be. Are there any templates that, as senior players, as coaches, you give them for matches like this?
Well, I think the biggest, to India's advantage, if you look at that team, there already is a lot of experience. Barring a Shivam Dubey, everyone has been at the big stage. Everyone has experienced that. There are lots of captains of their IPL teams in that dugout as well, which means there is leadership. I always look at a good team and say, how much leadership is surrounding this team? And there is a lot of leadership. Arshdeep Singh has played against Pakistan. So Bumrah has for sure. So a lot of these bowlers, Hardik Pandya has done that. So a lot of these guys who played there, who've been part of that Asia Cup as well. So in that regard, I feel what the best players do is they let everyone be. There's going to be nerves. The more you tell them to ease their nerves, the more nervous they're going to be. So it's more about just keeping the environment really calm, making sure there's a few jokes around, you're laughing, the normal conversations. So it's actually trying to be as calm as possible and as cool as possible, and not so much go and play well, focus, make sure you watch the ball. Not that sort of talks. It's more about, dude, enjoy the occasion. You're playing in India, Pakistan, in America. Like, you would have never thought of it growing up, right? You're thinking about India, Pakistan at Wankhede, India, Pakistan, maybe at Lahore, but India, Pakistan in New York. That is something totally different. So it's
and some of these guys. And some of these guys will have Olympics aspiration also 4 years from now when it is played in LA. Some of these guys will be a part of the team, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, LA and the Olympics, or the opportunity to win a gold medal is amazing, right? You get to play with all countries from around the world. When we've seen how cricket around the world has grown, so just taking the sport everywhere. And India, I believe in most rights, are the ambassadors of cricket today in the world. So if someone thinks about cricket, the first country they relate to is India because of the passion, the following, the fans, everything. So in that regard, an India-Pakistan game in New York is not only a highlight, but it's also like India being the ambassador for cricket sort of stamps the authority today and says, yes, we are that team that's going to take cricket around the world.
All right. The second player that we really want to talk about is Rishabh Pant. We've seen him batting at number 3 in the last 2 matches. That role that he has been given. What do you make of that? And secondly, are we seeing the old Rishabh Pant back in his elements? And how does it change the complexion of the game?
To add to what he's saying, are we exposing Rishabh Pant too early in the batting order? That's also my question.
Well, I was interestingly watching an interview of Rishabh Pant where he was asked, would you playing the World Cup, 2023 World Cup, would that have made a difference? And he said, very interestingly, and I quote him, he said that if I played that game, India would either be 300 plus or 150 all out. So that just tells you the mindset of the man. So he believed in a World Cup final, he's either going hammer or tongs or he's sitting in the dugout. So when you unleash someone with that mentality at number 3, you're either getting 70 in the power play or you're 30 for 2. So you have to expect that with Rishabh Pant. And this fearless approach that I've spoken about in the past, and what Rohit Sharma has been trying to do since the World Cup, is have that approach in the team, which is why a guy like Akshar Patel is also in the team that lengthens the batting. He's making sure there's enough batting in the team and people can play with that much more freedom. So him being there, I feel, is something that's going to help India. And if he's there at over number 8, after coming in the power play, India's in a great position post that power play.
So what you're basically saying?
We have actually been talking about sheet anchor's role.
But before you ask that question, what Abhishek is basically saying is that either it is going to be 300 plus for India in a 20-over game, or it is going to be just under 200. That is what we like to do.
Either or. We just have to make sure that we get Wankhede to New York. We need that same surface. But yeah.
Abhishek, we've spoken about the sheet anchor's role. Then do we expect Virat to be the sheet anchor and Rohit and Rishabh to have the license to kill?
Well, I think the way T20 has evolved, there is no role where you call someone an anchor role. You don't give that role anymore. The key is that every player plays at his own tempo. The tempo is decided by the particular and the individual. It is not decided by the team management. Especially when you're playing in conditions that are tough, the moment you tell someone you are playing the anchor's role, which means even a boundary ball, he will end up, defending or pushing at. So you don't want to inflict someone's mindset by telling them play a certain way. I think the key messaging is going to be play the situation, which means the situation you walk into bat. So if a wicket has been lost in the first over, take one over before you can start going. Take a couple of balls. If you walked into the power play with the score at 60 for no loss in 5 overs and then you lose a wicket and Rishabh walks in, he plays his shots. So there is no sheet anchor role. There is no aggressor's role. There is watch the ball, play the ball, but play to your strengths and your weaknesses, not to what you perceive someone else should and someone else shouldn't. So I think that would be the clear messaging, and that is how the Indian team has been thinking over the past.
Right. Number 3, I'll have to ask is Shaheen Afridi.
Yeah.
Shaheen
Probably
Afridi,
the only X factor in this Pakistan team, as far as
and you can
I'm concerned.
tell Abhishek what the Indian fans have been asking him to do.
Yeah, so we were going through this. So we found a really funny video on social media, and a couple of Indian fans, they're basically surrounding Shaheen Shah Afridi and asking him very politely not to do well against India, and just make sure that Rohit and Virat, people like Rohit and
Uske khilaf bowling mat kar.
Are consider them as their best friends. So, but jokes aside, it's when you talk about X factors in a Pakistan team, the only person that stands out at this point is Shaheen Shah Afridi.
Well, I think I watched that video and I loved his reaction. He was just sitting there without saying anything. He didn't say yes, didn't say no. He just sat there, So you can tell that he's nervous as well because he's not been bowling the way he bowled in that World Cup when he obviously got those wickets against us in UAE. The conditions are different. But I think the Indians have also prepared really well. We saw that in the Asia Cup where we saw a change in Rohit Sharma's stance, the way he is approaching it. They now anticipate him to go full and fast. So he'll have to come up with something new. He'll have to strategize differently. Yes, he's an X factor, and I actually believe Naseem Shah is someone who can trouble the Indians with the length he bowls and the pace that he bowls and the height at which he delivers the ball. But Shaheen Shah Afridi will have his work cut out. Because I say that only because this pitch has supported those sort of bowlers who hit the deck more often than guys who've gone fuller. He likes to go fuller, which means it is not going to be easy unless the ball is swinging big. So it's going to be interesting to see how Shaheen Shah Afridi turns up today. But for me, he's not as dangerous as maybe a Naseem Shah or a Mohammad Amir.
So would you consider Naseem Shah and Haris Rauf to be more pivotal in this particular situation, or what do you think?
So I think with a newer ball for me, Mohammad Amir is going to be someone who's going to be very dangerous for this Indian batting lineup, especially Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma. Post that in the middle overs, someone like a Rishabh Pant. I feel Rishabh Pant's matchup, Nasir Shah is someone who can trouble someone like a Rishabh Pant. But I feel Haris Rauf is someone India's played typically pretty well because they understand what you get with him. But for me, the biggest X factor, someone who can trouble India today, is Mohammad Amir with a new ball.
Okay. Wow.
And I'm just looking at predictions. It says thunder showers are expected when the match happens, and around the match, what will be the impact, and which team will become more impactful if the weather suddenly changes?
Also, is toss a factor? Is also what
That's what he said yesterday.
Yeah. Okay. I was actually going to imply that the most important part here is the toss then, because when there's rain around, most teams like chasing because they like to understand what they have on board. And because of the delays and cuts and changes and stops in game, it just gives you a better platform to sort of prepare mentally. What are you going to get? Also, you don't know what you're setting as a target if the rain is around. Because if the rain comes in and you're not going hammer on tongs, it may affect, what happens later on in terms of the collateral score. So I feel toss becomes even more critical, more than which team is going to support. The conditions, again, overcast conditions will support India. Why do I say that? Is because typically our bowlers may be lesser in speed, but they're more skillful. They will get the ball to swing. There are
Correct.
bowlers like Arshdeep Singh, Hardik Pandya, Bumrah can bowl in every condition. But these bowlers, including a Dubey, will become very effective if the ball is swinging and seaming. Which is why, for me, if there is a bit of rain around, if it's overcast, the Indian fast bowlers start to look a little more lethal than they already are. For the Pakistani fast bowlers, they don't go for swing and seam, they are all out pace attack. So the conditions may not affect them, but yes, the Indian team will look a lot more lethal if there's rain around.
Talking about the Indian fast bowlers, I think another X factor is
Arshdeep.
Arshdeep
Would
and
Arshdeep be your X factor for India? You mentioned about Mohammad Amir from Pakistan. Would Arshdeep be your X factor for India?
I think he has been. I say this again, and I'm a big believer in stats. He's someone who's picked up the most wickets in the power play for India. And there's a reason he does that. Because he's always at the stumps. He's got a very attacking approach even in a T20 format. He gets to swing the ball both ways. He's someone who'll get it in and equally get it out. And he's got this rare talent where he can bowl a skiddier bouncer than his fuller ball. We saw what he did when he played against Pakistan there, getting the ball to swing first up, getting Babar Azam LBW. That is something he possesses. He can pick wickets, which is why I feel someone who's underrated, go under the radar. People don't really talk about Arshdeep Singh, but he's someone who can pick wickets for us with the new ball. And if he does that, then Pakistan starts on the back foot. If he can pick 2-3 wickets up front, it's going to be Pakistan team in that dugout thinking, oh, damn, is this the same scenario that's happened versus the USA, or is it different? So that Pakistan team in their bus today is thinking, someone give us a good start. Rizwan, get a few runs for us. Give us that, platform to go. So that's where I feel Arshdeep Singh is going to be critical for us.
Before we talk about anything else, I just want to touch upon that loss that Pakistan suffered from United States. As a player yourself, as a manager, as a coach, how does it affect your team and the players? Because when you lose to a team like USA, and I'm not saying that USA did not play well and they did not deserve to win. They absolutely did. But at the same time, for a team like Pakistan, what would be going through the minds of the players at this point?
So, if I just had to dig in a little deep and talk about psychology on this part of it for a cricketer, what I've often noticed, when you lose to a minnow, when there are expectations and people expect you to win all the time, when you lose to a minnow, suddenly those expectations leave you. People stop expecting. So nobody's really expecting big things from Pakistan, and the team will know that, which is what makes teams sometimes dangerous. Because now they don't have to play with your expectations. People don't expect you to win. But in the case for India, everyone expects India to win today, which means the Indian players will be under a little more pressure than a Pakistani player, because today people are saying Pakistan can't win this game. Pakistan's not good enough. So everything changes psychology. And the beautiful part of it, you may actually realize this Pakistan team is under lesser pressure than what they would if they were coming in as hot favorites. And sometimes that can play, into their hands, and they may say, let's go out. Who cares? Anyways, people think we can't. We lost to USA. What's the worst? Will you lose to India? People will say that's meant to be. If you go and see win percentages today, I'm sure India is 65 and Pakistan 35 or 70-30, which means no baggage, no expectations. Babar Azam can't play any slower. Azam Khan can't be in any worse form. You never know what you're going to get. So always believe with teams who are struggling, no expectations. Those teams can play with a lot of freedom sometimes. And I'm very sure that's the message that Gary Kirsten is going to give them. Just play for the fun of it, and you'll have nothing to lose, because it's almost like that David versus Goliath story, and Pakistan are going in without any pressure today.
It's funny how we are considering this as a David versus Goliath story, because just 10 years ago, probably 10, 15 years ago, it was an even contest.
Cricket is not played in the past.
Absolutely.
Cricket is played now.
That's not what I meant, but considering the history that these two teams have when it comes to cricket, in a way, it's a little sad to see that we don't really have that competition anymore. So, but
the other question that I need to ask him is about the next person who I think could again make a difference. We'll have to see Fakhar Zaman. Abhishek, I'll tell you the story of Fakhar Zaman. The first time I heard about Fakhar Zaman was when Dean Jones used to come to NDTV to be like you, an expert for about 10 long summers. He was in NDTV working for us. And he was the first person in the first season of PSL after having coached, I think, Quetta Gladiators, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
He come and he spoke about that boy called Fakhar. And that's where we got to know about, the phenomenon of Fakhar. Though he hasn't been phenomenal against India, but can he show up? That is my question.
Well, the one time he was in England in the Champions Trophy when he got 100. And if you all remember, Bumrah bowled that no ball where he got out. He got that reprieve and he came back and played that beauty of an innings. And that's something that's, carved in my memory because I was watching that game live. So if you ask me about Fakhar Zaman, I obviously am worried. I'm always worried because a left-hander, typically against India's left-handers have troubled India. Travis Head, he's troubled India. David Miller, someone who's troubled India. So left-handers tend to have a good record against India sometimes. So someone like him who can play fearlessly, who takes on spinners. We've got two left-arm spinners. We've got Ravindra Jadeja and Akshar Patel, which makes it really important for someone to get Fakhar Zaman out in the power play. If he doesn't get out in the power play, it changes how Rohit Sharma then uses our spinners versus him. Which is why I feel he's such an important player for Pakistan. And I'm really curious to see how they use him. Do they send him at number 3 or do they bat him in the middle order and say, listen, wait for the ball to stop swinging and seaming, then come in, try and put India under pressure against the Akshar Patel and Ravindra Jadejas and try and play a different role from going into the power play and, bashing the bowlers. So I feel he's an important player for them and someone to look out for. But if he's batting in the power play, I feel that's really good for India because that means guys like Jasprit Bumrah, guys like Arshdeep Singh can come in and Hardik Pandya can use the conditions and get us those wickets that we require.
Talking about another X factor, Jasprit Bumrah. He has been the number one bowler for India, probably the number one bowler in the world in all formats for some time now. How would Pakistan be seeing somebody like a Jasprit Bumrah coming at them in the power plays? How do you negotiate that? And what would be your plan against somebody like a Jasprit Bumrah?
In Hindi, sometimes when you talk about Bumrah in team meetings, you kind of say, isko khel ke nikalo aur baki log ko pelo. That's the thought process. So I'm pretty sure Pakistan's thinking, don't give him wickets. It's okay if in those 24 balls, we get 18 runs or 12 runs or 16 runs or 24 runs. So they'll be thinking, if we get 24, oh, we've had a great day. If we get more than that, then someone's got really lucky. So the thought process is never going to be, let's go dominate Bumrah. It's going to be make sure Bumrah doesn't get wickets. Make sure that Bumrah, goes around 6 per over. If we get more than that, it's great. But don't give him wickets. Don't bring Bumrah into the game because that's the fear Bumrah has in every team around the world. He is the greatest bowler in world cricket today. He is someone who can pick wickets in all 3 phases of the game. And he can turn the game on its head whenever he gets an opportunity. So I'm pretty sure they're going to be thinking, khel ke nikalo, baki log ke samne run banao.
Is this what you guys think?
But what is the Pakistanis thinking? Kisko aaj pele? Can they pelo Arshdeep? Can they pelo anyone else? Who kisko pele aaj?
Kya lagta hai? Luckily pitch aisa hai ki luckily pitches as such where you can literally you need to score 140, 150, 160 and then you can win. So they don't have to pelo. They can just play and get runs. I think that's where Pakistan will, breathe a sigh of relief that it's not a high-scoring game; it's a low-scoring game.
Do you think India would be thinking about Shaheen Afridi in the same manner, or do you think it's a different thought process?
He said Mohammad Amir.
Mohammad Amir or Shaheen Afridi. Do you think so. Pakistan has a bowler that India would say, okay, let's not go after this particular bowler and wait for the other bowlers to come in?
Not at all. I think, what I know of my interactions with most of the guys who are now playing, I think their mindset is going to be, don't play the bowler, play the ball. It's never going to be about who's bowling to you. It's never going to be about Shaheen Shah Afridi bowling in. It's going to be Shaheen Shah Afridi is going to bowl full. It's going to try to swing the ball back in. What am I going to do? I'm going to stay beside the line or I'm going to come in line. I'm going to try and hit him straight. I'm going to try and hit him with the swing. That's how the Indian team started thinking. So they don't play the bowler, they play the ball, they play the day, they play the conditions, and that's from the thought process. So luckily, they don't have a bowler like a Waqar Younis or a Shoaib Akhtar who you're going to worry about anymore. It's just going to be see the ball, play the ball, and hope that the conditions are not tricky where the bowlers start looking great.
Yeah. All right.
I think one final person I need to ask you about, and he has really not come to the party yet, but Pakistan captain Babar Azam. Can we expect him to turn up as the real Babar today? He's not
the whole world has been waiting for a really long time. I think the only impactful knock he's had against India was in Dubai when he got that 68 of 52 balls. But you look at that inning, he's got 68 of 52. It's not a inning where he's played at a high strike rate. It was an inning which was supported by Mohammad Rizwan on the other end when he was attacking. So the strike rate was still there, and they were chasing 160 odd at that point, if I'm not mistaken, with a lot of dew around. So he's typically not someone who has hurt teams in this format. So there's a lot to prove for Babar Azam, the cricketer. I think these conditions may help him because there's less pressure. You can play at a strike rate of 120, 125. But having said that, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. There's going to be a lot of pressure because in the last game, he's played a runner ball inning against the USA after batting for more than 40 odd balls. So it's not going to be easy coming back for him. But I'm guessing that even if he ends up scoring runs, it's going to be at not more than 110, 115 strike rate. So he won't hurt you, but he can be someone who can help build a partnership.
Okay, one final prediction from you. What do you think is a par score on in this ground? And if India bats first, how many should India score so that it's safe for bowlers?
Well, I'm really bad at prediction, so I'm not going to predict. I'm horrible when it comes to predictions. But
what according to you, would be an ideal score? If you bat first, what would be an ideal score on this pitch?
So I think anything excess of 160 in these conditions, barring the conditions of the same, would be a challenging total for anyone chasing, especially if India's batting first with their lineup. And if they're chasing, India don't want to chase more than 150.
Okay.
They want to keep it under 150. And I feel if that happens, they will feel confident with their batting against this bowling lineup.
All right.
And we will be actually using this chat as a reference when we watch the India-Pakistan game tonight at 8 p.m. Thank you very much, Abhishek, for that most insightful conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.